Hello, and welcome back to yet another community watch party for the Pantheon developer streams. This one is going to be a little bit interesting. Multiple reasons. For one thing, I am quite ill right now, but but nothing was going to stop me from hanging out with you guys and checking out this stream today. So I'm going to struggle with it. We're gonna get through it. You can stick with me. I got my tea handy in my heat-changing Pantheon radio mug. That's gonna help get me through it. Stream's gonna be about an hour long. I probably won't stick around for too much longer afterwards. Again, just because I don't want to risk blowing out my voice. Because I just also released a YouTube video today, actually, and that was recorded yesterday. And that was interesting to get through as well. But anyway, for this stream today, another reason that a much better reason that to be excited about this stream is that it's not gonna be like the usual streams that they do with CohhCarnage. So if we just to kind of do a little like expectation management at the beginning here, from what I've gathered about this stream, it's gonna be if you saw the making of a city stream, which is back in, I want to say it was late 2017 actually now, which is a while ago. If you saw that stream, this stream is probably going to be quite similar to that. So I'm not really expecting like much combat or anything like that, not like live gameplay. It's more of like a behind the scenes look to how they actually have been developing the content. So, which is kind of a cool unique perspective that we don't get to see very often, where they're actually like in the trenches. You can see the zone, as it's Greyboxing, and at each phase it's from concept to reality, actually in game. So that should be pretty cool. It's gonna be about Faerthale, of course, but I don't think that this is like the epic Project Faerthale reveal yet. But I think it seems to kind of be like the prelude to that, like, again, just like a peek behind the curtains as to what they've been up to for all this time. So I'm personally excited for that. I don't think, though, again, expectation management being crucial, I don't think it's going to include, I have heard that it's not going to include a pre-alpha 5 announcement, so you might as well just forget about that for now and just enjoy it, because I think getting this perspective is really valuable, and I'm really glad that they're doing this, because it just gives you a greater appreciation for the whole process. It's hard for us from our perspective to really understand and visualize the sheer amount of work that goes into developing an MMO, and so hopefully this will kind of give a little bit more of an appreciation for just the sheer amount of man hours that goes into it. So hopefully, that might, at least for me, that helps me to be a little bit like more patient. Like you get a greater understanding for it. So that's where we're at. And it looks like Coh's stream, excuse me, I'm gonna try not to like cough in your face. Look at this timing. I think he's starting up right now. Yeah, look at that. Oh, but I was unmute him.
It's always a blast, and we're gonna see how we can do. Yes,
much.
I am very loud, and that's because this is the normal volume. While we were going in on my new computer, I am attempting to wrestle the volume minimizing aspect of Skype when it is playing from Windows 10, but it will not let it go. So anyway, before we get started, let's go ahead and have our friend Ben introduce everyone in the team, talk about what we're doing, and we're gonna go from there. So Ben, why don't you take it away, buddy?
I certainly will. Thank you for the opportunity, Coh. It's great to be on the show again. It's good to see everybody in chat as well. Hey, everybody. We've got some great stuff for you today. We've been very excited to show this stuff to you. We've been working on for those who have been following us, we've been working on Project Faerthale for some time now. And today we're actually going to get a chance to see some of the areas and learn how it's all come together. So it's going to be a real behind the scenes look. We're going to see a little bit of Greyboxing. With us today, as always, we've got Chris Joppa Perkins, who is our creative director and lead designer. And also joining us today is senior environment artist Jimmy Lane, who's going to tell us all about how this world is being built.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to both of you.
Yeah, thanks. It's exciting.
So with those intros done, why don't we hand it over to Jimmy? I think Jimmy's got some stuff to show and to talk about. If you're good with that, go.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Cool. Hey, everybody. Co again, thanks for having us.
My pleasure.
I would love for us to just go ahead and walk around the corner, and we'll stop on that stump around the corner. But Co, if you just want to walk on out, then we can get to showing some of what we're going to be doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh,
go on out. Yeah, man.
For the record, for everyone in chat, this is my first time actually seeing any of this. The only thing I've done so far is load in, and oh my.
yeah.
This is looking pretty good.
The already way
Welcome to
more
Oldwood.
colorful than
Thanks.
Amber Fate. That looks
So
real
everything
pretty.
that you're seeing here is made in-house. So this has all been done. The environmental aspects of it have all been done in-house. It's our, this is homemade. This isn't an asset store situation. This is
already
It's
kind of
Pantheon.
more than I was expecting to see.
so our avid viewers, our learned viewers would know that this is where the trailer takes place, the teaser. And I want to break that down and kind of talk through how this exact shot has developed over the years. So if you could, or over the last year, if you could switch over to that folder, Oldwood 01, I want to just scroll through some of those pictures that were actually set at this location.
Absolutely. They're on the screen right now. Take it away.
Awesome. So we kind of started with stuff from PA4 for those who have been in, and we really wanted to define an area and try and really figure out what level of scope that this game was going to look visually for our environments. And so you see before you like an assortment of assets, which initially weren't composed as one piece, but we knew that these pieces would define Oldwood. As we move through, you see groupings of foliage coming together, the colors of them are changing, and the composition itself begins to move as we think through how we want the players to traverse the environment. So as you progress through it, it just continually gets more and more detailed. We eventually had Jared come out with the reference benchmark image, which really defined what we were looking for, and that was one of the images that we had on earlier. But if you scroll on to the final image, I mean, you can see we're trying to match what we have in concept. Like, we want the things that y'all have seen to be real. We want to go to that level. And to jump into another folder real quick, I would ask that you do the slideshow follow-up. And I want to show that, one of our Reddit fans, Janice, I mean, he's been huge in the community anyways, but like, he actually created a side-by-side or one above the other comparison of the concept to the actual in-game. And what he didn't realize is that if you go to the next one, that's literally what I was doing at my desk. Like, I literally have the concept. We're trying to match it. We're trying to get to that level. So if you want to jump into the game, there's a quest that we'd like you to go through at that point, but I want to pull us back into the actual game.
Sure.
And we'll come back to more concepts and stuff as we go through this, but just wanted to highlight as we got to this part.
Is that the portal?
Absolutely.
At the end of that
I don't want to
bridge?
get too far ahead of it because I want to run in every direction. So don't just hold me back here.
Is that like how you
Which
get
way
to the
should we
Isle of
go?
Infinite Storms, maybe?
Well, I mean, I would
you
say feel free to take some time just to kind of explore the area you see in front of you. If you see something that looks interesting, check it out. You can take a few minutes to do that. I think it's also important at this point to say, too, that one of our goals alongside making the game beautiful is also making sure that it runs well. I think people who are familiar with MMORPGs know that at the end of the day, it's not just how good it looks, but it's just as important, if not more so, that it plays well, that it runs well, that it's optimized and performant. So we go through lots of effort, and we have some pretty brilliant people on the team who have all of us working to achieve what we want to achieve visually while making sure the game runs well.
This tree is talking to me.
Yeah, so that's the sort of the storyline in this area. This is an area. Actually, why don't I just turn it over to Chris? There is a specific purpose for this quest, for this storyline, but I'll let Chris talk about it.
Yeah, so in keeping with the spirit of our bi-weekly updates, we're giving a snapshot here of what we're working on and kind of the state that it's in, and we've shown lots about the perception system over the years, and increasingly more so more recently. And this is a chance to show off some of the dialogue associated with the perception system specifically. So when we've talked about the nonlinear kind of branching storytelling that goes on in the perception system, this quest is meant to be an example of that. And we don't have time to go through the whole thing on this stream, but I would encourage you, I'm just going to hand it over to you. I know you like to read these things and, really consider it and even read it out loud. So feel free to kind of follow the quest along for a little bit, and then I'll stop us here in a couple minutes.
Yeah, sure. Let me start this over from the beginning, I think. So you can see me. That is unexpected. Who are you? A good question. If you're after my name, I no longer have one. In this world, we are known simply as Old Ones. We once existed in the natural world as you do, though I have trouble remembering that far back. Just how old are you? Old enough to remember the moment when time stopped and the world was split in two. But time hasn't stopped. You're right. Time carries on for you in your world, but very little changes in mine. I'm the same as I've always remembered myself to be, free to move, but always returning here. I must say, being seen from your side is interesting indeed. My side? Are we in different worlds? I'm not sure just yet. I presume you touched this mythical stone? Yeah, I felt it draw to me. I felt it draw me. Beckoned by a sight stone, you say. Interesting indeed. On rare occasions, sight stones have been known to grant an incredible gift, the ability for a mortal creature to see beyond the natural world into another. This explains why I've appeared before you, that the veil between our world may cause me to appear as a spirit of some kind. The sight stone did this? Indeed. Knowledge of legendary weapons, armor, and relics that bestow great power or protection is not new to you. Your world is full of such things. But sight stones are not chosen by adventurers like weapons to be wielded or relics to be worn. It is the sight stone itself that chooses. I've seen no magic that can force their power or break them open against their will. The sight stone chooses what? I'm unwilling to say anything more. The time has come for you to look for answers beyond me. I see you still observe time. Time is undeniable, especially when it has stopped. Are there more Old Ones I can speak with? That is difficult for me to say, but I understand why you are asking. I've told you to look for answers beyond me, and you are curious how to do that. The Sightstone has beckoned you. As a result, knowledge may present itself to you that would otherwise be hidden. You will likely speak with people and creatures alike who would not have acknowledged you before. From now on, you will sense much deeper importance in the most insignificant things. You may even perceive a voice that sounds like your own. It suggests things that you didn't already know. I do not know the extent of what awaits you, however. What? Please tell me what you know. I'm not sure why this has happened to you. However, I sense a tree folk with great wisdom nearby. I believe they are called Spriggan. It appears she has planted herself in place by sending her roots deep underground. I faintly remember hearing of this tradition of theirs. If I were to encourage you towards the next step, it would be to speak with her. Farewell.
Cool. And you're welcome to run over and kind of get that started since you've already met Nymir. But this is, again, meant to be an example of how the perception system storylines will begin to take you deeper and deeper into the greater story arcs of the world, of your class, of your race. Sometimes the specific zone you're in, sometimes, more universal story arcs. And you get to see a lot more of the branching dialogue with Nymir than you did with the old one. But the idea is the same. So I think over here, have you sparked up a conversation with her again?
I just started. Let me see if I can bring that back up real quick.
I also like how the dialogue is customized to his character.
Demet. Hail, and who are you? My name is Nehu, and I am known as a Spriggan. I traveled to Oldwood long ago from the Grove of O'Kaim, king of the Spriggan Sanctuary. Are you stuck? Stuck? That is a shallow version of the truth. I rested in this spot over 100 years ago, entering the final season of my life as a Spriggan. Among my people, it takes both age and ability to meld with the soil in such a permanent way. It is an honor, one that I will wear beyond my death. Why is it an honor? The honor lies in the purpose to yield an offspring known as a seedling. While not a true child, as seedlings become drollings and not Spriggan, they are a token of life nonetheless. This bloom I cradle in my hand will one day become such a creature. You may even find a few wandering about Oldwood. Hopefully we will not kill them for experience. Hopefully not too near the falls. They don't always heed their mother's voice. Suppose you can't chase them yourself. Not without great harm. Trees are difficult to wound and can take longer to heal than flesh. Not as long as stones, however. I don't mourn the loss of my mobility. My state is a Spriggan's glory. Every day my roots reaching closer to the face in the deep. Every night I sit in an ancient wood and search the world through paths the eye cannot see. Reminds me, the old one said to find you. Is that so? Well, I was told to wait for a mortal from another world. Are you that mortal? Oh.
Cool.
Cool.
So we'll stop it there. But so I know that the question is going to come up, like how nonlinear is this, and what kind of options do we actually have here in terms of varying paths? And the answer is that it's going to be quite a variety. You're going to hit some storylines that are pretty direct and move through, along a certain track, but the more common occurrence will be a fairly varied path of options set of options that you have in front of you based on, again, your class, your race, and a lot of the things that you've done up until this point, down to the level of, have you visited this certain place in this certain zone, and the way that can flag your character for a conversation that you have with someone on another continent that would change the shape of that conversation, or at least open up new paths to you that you would have been unable to open up beforehand. And like we've said before, the goal there is to try and make this not only a very deep system with a lot of replayability, but also to protect against things like spoilers, because there will be such a richness of flagging and the variety of different things that a player has done, that'll often be difficult to determine, exactly what steps were taken to get to this point and to that point. And that's why, we've decided to separate the perception system from the leveling mechanic, or we haven't put content behind the perception system as a kind of wall, because we don't want players to be impatient or feel like, they're being held back because maybe they can't quite, determine the steps that it's going to take to do this next thing or that next thing, even though, our job will be to make sure that the clues that are presented are adequate enough. But maybe, in an ideal situation, you're actually reaching out to other people, around you, and asking questions to other people actually playing the game at the same time to help make sense of some of these things, which is part of the social engagement that we're going for. But I want to cut us off there because, I want to say, first of all, the rest of that storyline and then kind of the events that follow that for our pre-alpha testers and just for a later time in terms of showing. But I will say that one of the things that you do in response to this storyline is she actually kind of leads you through a series of events where you're able to fashion a glyph. And we've talked before about glyphs being part of the acclamation system. And so, Ko, if you want to hit the I key to open your inventory.
Sorry, before we get into that, I just wanted to quickly remind everyone that Pantheon is under development. It has not been released yet. It is a crowd-funded game. That means it's made possible by your pledges. If you'd like to check out more, please head over to pantheonmmo.com. And before we get into the acclamation, to take a quick look back at some of the world building aspects. Jimmy, you had some interesting stuff with this Spriggan tree as well.
Yeah.
If we want to get into that for a little bit, don't instead of doing a slideshow on this one, Cohh, maybe just pull them up one by one.
Sure.
We'll go to the first folder, the Spriggan 01.
Okay.
Cool. So y'all got to hear a little bit about, like, you know, her backstory, like what a Spriggan tree is, like the grace and beauty as written down below. Like it's really meant to have a massive message that we knew from the beginning. So there was a lot of thought put into this model, making it feel lived in, aging it, all those sorts of things. So this was kind of the first concept that we came up with, that it was a collaboration between Justin and Jared. And so immediately we threw that in to Engine, and it was looking cool. If you want to go to the next one.
Anytime I hear you say next, I'll just go through that.
Okay, yeah, yes. So go ahead and go to the second image if you wouldn't mind. That was our initial gray box of it. And it was kind of 1-to-1, but we weren't really feeling in love with it, because I mean, you can see the scale of the player on the bottom left, and then actually, like, you know, she's massive, so we were starting to run into some issues. And if you go to the next one, in the front view of this character, it actually didn't have a whole lot of depth going on. Like, we really needed to not only bring the player closer to her, but also, you know, get motion in multiple axes for her pose. So we continued on to the next one, which had basically a render that Jared and Justin worked on, and that really defined what she was going to be. It you know, we were talking about things growing out of her. She's literally becoming a tree over time, and she set down roots. She is the thing. It's not that it's like something secondary to her. And during that time, one of our environment artists came in. He was working on it. If you could go to the next one, he made this version of it, and it helped us realize that there was a model or a shader and material that needed to be generated and created in order to really bring this to completion. We needed to develop a shader that would allow for multiple tilings of textures on top of the main sculpt that we were rocking with. So while that was in process, while Bruno was working on that, we continued to work through how the pose was working, how the player interaction was working. So now we've got like rocks right there that you can walk up on, but it still felt like we were too low. And so from that point, if you want to do the next one and then quickly switch to the one after that, we basically took her back into ZBrush, and we took her pose. It didn't feel like it was fully growing out of her, and I did something really rough, really quick. And then there were two other poses that we went through. If you want to cycle through those next two, there was like pose A, B, and C. And at that point, I think it was Justin that decided that it was C, or was it you, CP?
I think it was a combination.
Yeah. I mean, all this stuff is collaborative. We realized that the player interaction was an issue because we were in it, walking around. At this point in the process, because we had been working on Sleepless and other assets in Oldwood, we had finally finished off that shader. And additionally, Will, when he was here working with us, he did a full character of the Spriggan that you've seen previously. And so at that point, if you go to the next one, I took that pose and I took his high-res model, and we actually reused that content for, you know, basically it's already been done to some extent. You know, this guy is actually like 2 or 3 times the size of a normal Spriggan. So next we show that I actually sculpted on top of it to add a lot more detail, so that when you get up close to him, you know, there's ridges, there's vines, there's like all this stuff, and it has this motion that really, I don't know, it was where we were headed. This asset, by the way, in the end, was made up of 26 different items. So there's a lot of pieces that we're dealing with whenever we're making something like this. So, you know, to make sure that we have the pose right early on allows us to not iterate, not change things anymore at that stage. After that, there's a video. I'm not sure if you can play that or not through there, but, oh wait, no, it's a screenshot. that was before we actually had the shader in, and you can tell that versus the game, you really don't get that beautiful life energy that is coming from her, and it's really about the story and the lore. And so we actually incorporated something from one of our other shaders so that it would work with this shader additionally. So we got 2 upgrades on this shader for it to even happen.
And I do have a little video here. You want me to pop that up?
Yeah, go ahead. That's basically showing some of the process. It compares, that initial Spriggan size to what it really became, and the amount of extra detail that had to be placed into it in order to make it fit in a larger scale. Later in that video, if you want to just skip through it, we're looking at leaves and trying to think through, what's the level of detail that we're expecting from a Pantheon leaf, a Pantheon frond, a Pantheon foliage asset. Like, we want to go as far as we can, and see where we're bound in our shaders and our rendering and our pipeline. And yeah, that's kind of the next set of images. We have another folder, and it goes through the time lapse of all that stuff. But if you just want to run around in game and look at it up close, that's fine too.
Sure. Any excuse to get further in game. So
yeah, man, it's all good. We're easy in here.
Yeah, I think in terms of time too, is probably better if we just take a look in game.
Oh man. Well, the final image is definitely very cool. No question.
Thank you so much.
By the way, I'm seeing a lot of people in chat, especially some people that are seeing Pantheon for the first time. Just like Ben said earlier, please keep in mind, this is a pre-alpha that you're looking at. This game is not even an alpha yet. And then it has alpha, beta, and then release. So they are still very much working on this game. There's lots and lots of stuff. But even now, I mean, you can tell like this is looking, this is really coming along. But yeah, this game is under heavy development right now. So yeah, just keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's well said.
And
another thing, just to add here too, is no, I'm not going to get an acclamation. For people watching the development of the game, you can look at a piece like this and hear the description and think, man, that's a lot of time, that's a lot of effort on one thing. And oh, you did it
by accident. Yeah, I just came on the side and grabbed on. Yeah, that's cool.
Oh man, so I got to just take a quick second and say I was hoping that by just exploring this area a little bit, that you would just happen upon a moment like that. And again, that's our climbing system. For everyone watching, we've incorporated a very robust climbing system into this game. I don't know if your climbing skill is high enough to grab all of those.
I don't think all of them, yeah.
But
so wait, as your climbing skill goes up, you can grab onto more ledges and different types?
Yep, absolutely. And your climbing speed is going to increase. It's going to be harder to knock you off. You're going to open up new skills like being able to lunge, things like that. So
very cool.
It's exciting, and it's definitely something we're excited to show off more. But the point I was wanting to make quickly earlier is just that this is what we call a hero piece, and a game world that is immersive is going to need its hero pieces. These are the iconic things that just have so much more detail and leave kind of a greater imprint, and do require more time and effort. But a game devoid of hero pieces like this is going to be pretty bland. But at the same time, in the same breath, if you look at all of the other assets around you, there is so much reusability that we get out of these things. A simple change of texture, a change of material, a different kind of coloration. Those few quick little things give us an amazing amount of reusability, which is really the key in making a large game world in kind of an efficient way, is making sure that everything we make, we have reusability in mind. And so I just want to make that point because our goal is to develop Pantheon as quickly as possible, but not so much that we cut corners on the things that really matter. So we got the climbing little tidbit in there. That's great. There's just so many little things in here that we could and will talk about eventually. But as I was saying before, for the sake of our pre-alpha testers and wanting to get a little bit more finished. You can zoom all the way in, Co. You should be able to zoom all the way in.
Oh, yeah.
By the way.
Seems to work fine. Absolutely.
We added that back in just for you. We still need to optimize that and kind of get it closer to what it needs to be.
I appreciate it. The devs noticed that every time we do these streams, I would always try to zoom into first person.
Yeah. So, I mean, keep in mind, that's like super basic at this point. Doesn't look pretty, but it'll give you that close detail look when you want it.
I mean, I love first person, but just the perspective, like his eyeballs are his nipples, basically. Like they need to be higher up.
And go to that last tab on the bottom. You'll just see the acclamation page, and we are about to take you into a very different area. And if you followed us, you know that one of our major game systems is the extreme climate system, and hand in hand with that goes acclimation, which is how you prepare yourself to be in those environments and survive in those environments. This is kind of, the high fantasy extreme of kind of environments we're used to on Earth. We know what it's like to be really cold. We know what it's like to be really hot. But many of us have never been probably in a desert in an extreme survival situation or in the tundra. But this is taking it even beyond that, to where to survive in these areas is going to require a mystical, magical degree of protection. So without saying anything more, I do want to give you, since we're not going to do the quest in its entirety, I'm going to give you the glyph that you would have been able to fashion. Let me see.
Also, really digging the look of this armor and these pieces of equipment.
Yeah, I was just thinking that I think those are like all nice armor models that we haven't seen before.
Oh, it looks like it's not going to let me do it since I've already created one. Let me
accurate.
You mean wait? Is this some kind of pre-alpha? What's going on here?
Love it.
Co, can you? Does that account allow it? Can you type? I'll type in channel here.
I will type all the things.
/find item. Space glyph.
Glyph. One item found in 1 millisecond.
Great, and then just left click on that.
Yeah, there you go.
Item prime windshield glyph chest. This is going to be in release, right?
Yeah. Find item. Anything you want, just type find item.
One of many convenient.
I see it right here. The prime windshield glyph.
Now, don't
chest.
right click it yet.
Okay. I just said
but
something.
You do have it now, so we're good. So, the teaser trailer that we did for Faerthale recently, we got a little sneak peek of this environment. We've now kind of seen a little bit more of it, and I hate to rush you through it because there really is so many more amazing things to see in here. But we're actually going to head back to that environment we finished up on in that teaser trailer, and we're really excited to show off a little more of that area. So let's head to the bridge in front of us here. We'll pass. Oh
boy! I think I was right.
That's the little Spriggan that we showed in the that little video Jimmy put together.
Cool.
It's going to be exciting to have this area more fleshed out with its NPCs. That's coming soon. And we're just going to take a leap of faith here.
Oh, geez.
That looks so cool. Well, damn.
Welcome to the Isle of Infinite Storm.
Oh, Jesus.
Damn.
That's a good moment of grandeur right there.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I am really liking. See, the second I see that thing in the sky, I want to know everything there is to know about that.
Yep. And the beauty is there is a lot to know about that. And just about everything that you see here that would draw your eye, catch your attention, has a point and a place in the world's context. And in fact, the quest that or the storyline we didn't finish earlier actually will give you some good insight into some of that information. But before we move any further here, I want to stop and talk about the the codex a little bit, because we've been showing off in the last few bi-weekly streams and updates the ability modification system. And so if you hit the B key, you're going to open up your codex, and you should see in your codex, you should see we've given you kind of 80 ability points there to kind of work with.
Oh.
This first time we've seen the codex in action as well, so feel free to just kind of, look around.
Yeah.
Click. If you want to turn pages, obviously you've got the buttons. You can also use the scroll wheel.
There is a lot going on in here.
Yep.
Whoa. Okay, let's start right back here for everyone watching at home. So some of you guys may have to pause this, but I'll try to get it moused over everything at least a little. Yes! At least over everything. Sorry, I found fishing. Oh man. So what am I looking at here?
So let's start with the ability points. If you scroll to the last page that you have abilities on, which probably page 5 or 6, I believe, you're going to see several abilities that have these kind of empty sockets, if you will. So it's past that. I guess it's page 7 or 8. I'm looking at the video feed that's just a little bit behind. So, but yeah, you're going to see some with those empty indentions. We chose a certain subset of abilities because, again, we can't say this enough. We are not doing anyone any favors by spoiling everything that there is to spoil. And so showing off a couple of abilities, showing off the kind of current plan for the upgrade path of these abilities, this gives us a nice little subset to look at. Now, bear in mind, this system is kind of just coming to life, and so there are going to be further improvements, further refinements, both to the user experience, to the tooltips, and that. But let's go ahead and start with the Mantle of the Tides. You've got the first ability on your bar there. It's called Mantle of the Tides, and you'll notice it's one of the abilities that has some upgrade options under it.
Mm-hmm.
If you hold Control and left-click on that ability, that is going to, or inside your book, actually.
Yeah.
That's going to bring up the upgrade window, and it's going to ask you if you want to spend, and then it'll tell you how many points you're about to spend, and then it's going to give you a snippet of what that upgrade is going to do. And in this case, it's going to cause all of the healing effects of Mantle of the Tides to have a chance to cure poison. And that means the initial hit plus all of the ticks of healing. And if that's what you want to do, you hit upgrade, and that will spend one of your ability mod points, and it will upgrade that ability. So there's an example. The book resets and whatnot. But then if you go back to that ability again, let's go ahead and see if we can upgrade that a second time. So now you've got 1 point in there. If you hold Control and click that again, you're going to see that now it's asking you if you want to spend 4 ability points for the next upgrade. This adds a 50% chance to proc Surging Power. Now, for those of you that are interested in the class design, what Surging Power does is it gives you a 50% chance to proc this, and while that's active for 6 seconds, your hand spells, your direct healing spells, do not have a cast time for those 6 seconds. And so it's kind of goes a long way to giving shamans a little bit more capability in situations where the damage is really high.
Okay.
Now, one of the refinements that we'll make is obviously you need to know what Surging Power does before you invest points in it. And in fact, the goal eventually is that you would see the full upgrade path for the abilities when you're making that decision. So you'll know, okay, I do want to invest all these points because I know it's going to get me here in the end. And that's just something that's further down the line. Let's go ahead and fully upgrade it. If we go back to Mantle of the Tides, can Control click again.
For 9 points this time.
We're looking at 9 points. And this increases the direct healing component, which is the initial land of the ability, by 100%. And now that ability is fully maxed out, you'll see that all of those upgrades are accounted for in the tooltip. And this is now a fully maxed out ability. Go ahead if you want, and just now that you know the process, try it out with a couple of the other ones that you're curious about.
Ooh, movement speed. Oh, I do love that. Convert ability to a group buff. Oh, nice. Okay, that's a good one. Doubles movement speed increase for the first 10 seconds. Oh, like a little sprint. Okay, cool, cool. And then, okay, here's one of our DDs. So first it's just a dot. Now it's a dot that also reduces fire resistance. Makes it even better. Then we've got your group gains fire resistance as you deal damage. That's pretty cool. And then finally, reduces target chance to resist your primal cure fire spells by 20%. So I could land that on it first, and then my other, I think, DD style spells. Yeah, right there it says at the beginning, primal curse fire. Ooh,
So that would be things like right there. That's a primal curse fire ability, the Scorched Fog, the Ember Gloom. Those are going to be your slows, your fire-based direct damage spells. Yeah, makes those a little bit easier to land.
Very cool. Very cool.
So I also want to say quickly what you're seeing here. Maybe you've noticed to the viewers watching, we're continuing with our UI updates. And, you know, so we've gotten the main chat, just the chat windows in general, as well as the codex. But maybe of most importance to mention is the hotbar. And you'll see that the main hotbar, or the larger section of the hotbar, is now 8 slots. And then there's a secondary hotbar, a smaller one, which we call the utility bar, which is 6 slots. Now, there's going to be a time and a place to kind of go into the weeds a little bit on details regarding the limited action set and how these 2 bars interact with each other. But what I can say for right now, just as a point of progress in the development and the design of the hotbar and the LAS, is that those 8 main slots are going to be kind of your limited action bar slots. And there are certain abilities that are going to go in that slot that are not able to be put on the utility bar. These are going to be your purely offensive abilities, like your damaging attacks, your direct damage spells, your dots, your slows, your debuffs, things like that, as well as your directly defensive combat related abilities, things like heals, things like, you know, absorb shields, rescues, things like that. And that is right now, we are wanting to move into the next phase of testing with that capped at 8. We've set this bar up, though, to be very easily expandable. So if we decide it's looking like it's going to be better if we have 10, then that's very simple for us to do. The utility bar is there for more of your long duration type buffs. And so you'll notice on here you've got things like your AC buff, your movement speed buff, your stamina strength buff, your self-wisdom buff. Those things are meant to go on the utility bar, where you have them available to you at all times, and they're not taking up that space in the main, you know, combat-oriented bar. So hopefully that's enough kind of an explanation for now. Again, it's something we'll be going into more detail and probably focusing on a little bit in an upcoming stream, but wanted to go ahead and mention that along with the visual updates.
We are getting a little bit tighter on time, so just to change things up a little bit, Jimmy, I know that you have some slides for Isle of Infinite Storm here. Do we want to go through that real quick?
Yeah, let's go to the fight. Like let's go fight something first.
Okay, do the fight first, sure.
And then I'd probably suggest Code that you turn.
We are gonna fight something?
Speed for this.
Oh
but,
yeah. Okay.
if you wanna have fun with it too, that's cool.
How would I cancel it? Just cast it again?
Just click on it.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I want to know what happens.
This is something that we'll talk about a little bit on just the development of these remnant shards and like why they exist and the thinking behind their placement in terms of like, you know, gameplay.
Nice grab.
what we're trying to do with it. There's been a lot of versions of this, but
I also love how the color palette in here is like as a stark contrast compared to Faerthale, which is really bright and colorful.
All right,
and you
so
go into here and it's just very like bland. Oh, hello.
Really, no eye has seen. And speaking
this guy is eyeless.
Yeah, he is eyeless.
Oh, and am I down? No, I'm not down. Okay.
Like much like Amber Fate, I think there's a time and a place to have much more bland color palettes. Like this is all just different shades of purple for the most part. And Amber Fate is very blue, but then you have Faerthale that has almost every color of the rainbow, and I feel like that's just very.
Go ahead and let Ben tank this. Now, keep in mind,
I feel like that's
too,
fairly realistic.
This area is being developed,
and it just
raid,
makes it more interesting to me.
Encounter and a raid area, and so just the four of us in here, kind of dinking around, we're gonna have a hard time taking this guy down in any degree of swiftness. So, obviously this is a chance to show off a little bit of combat and just the field, but the focus for today more is getting into the what we're about to show here in the next little section. So let's go ahead and just take this guy down. And we are standing here just kind of where we left off last in the teaser trailer, where you saw from a distance some people running up over this crest into the play area. So now today we wanted to take this opportunity to show off the actual play space, and we're going to hang out right here at the top.
You see that shadow that keeps...
before we do,
it almost is like something that's flying
in
the air.
To kind of go into?
I want him to, just stand right here, Ko. Just kind of get a look at what you're seeing, and then we're gonna switch over here in a second to kind of the time lapse of how this area came to be. But I wanted you to get a view for it, kind of see the lay of the land.
Yeah, I like it. It looks like a giant arena almost. All sorts of stuff going on in here.
Yeah, it's a dangerous place, and we wanted to certainly showcase that with the environment as well. So cool. Let's switch over to that Sleepless 01.
Oh yeah, that's true. There are rocks that are kind of flying through the air, casting shadows.
That's just really going to show kind of the process that we went through on the initial platforms to get onto this floating island effectively. We wanted you to fall in, you just came through this portal, and now we need to have, for you as the player, a reveal, a payoff for traveling here. And so we went through and we had a series of different platforms that we wanted you to traverse through, like jumping and ledge grabbing and climbing, and just scroll through them all. Eventually we arrived where we're at in the current game, and I want to say that there's FX, there's things that are being updated to this area even still. So this isn't the final area, but this is it in process. This is how we got to be where we're at today.
Very cool. Yeah, it's great seeing the progression. And for a lot of people in chat that are not quite understanding this today we are not showing off Pantheon. Today we are showing off the development of this game. This game is still in pre-alpha, so it's still being created. So normally all this stuff that you're seeing right now is all behind closed doors. The players aren't really exposed to it, but the devs are kind of like giving us a look behind the curtain kind of thing. So
totally.
Yeah, this is the process, not the final form.
Thanks. Yeah, so if we want to just skip to the third folder, the first look one, which was kind of this is our first look after that trailer. Sleepless 03. And if you could just hold on that first image for a second. I just want to state that this was the original intention for this zone. This is Greybox. We are talking about gameplay elements. What matters? Put that on the board. Everything else is window dressing. Yeah, so we can, and if you want from now, you can scroll through the images, but the core tenets of what this area mean remain the same. And that's why for us Greyboxing is such an important thing, because it's really us defining the play spaces and then coming back and making it look good after the fact. So we're really trying to put gameplay at the forefront of this game. It's not an art piece. I always say that it should be fun as a cube. If it's not fun as a cube, then I don't really want to play it. But
that is
we're
an
trying
epic
to show you
backdrop,
that we
though.
followed through on it. Yeah, that's all I've got for this area.
I love the idea
want to
that
do the other thing, CP.
those platforms
well, I think that's
and
really
even
well
some
said.
ropes
And
can
you know,
play a
Greybox
part
is
in the
something
raid.
that, you know, is something typically you don't see until a game has launched and there's
If ever.
or is close to launch. Yeah, and there's like maybe some like, you know, a special like YouTube video that goes up of just, you know, a little snippet where they show like grabs of in development process all throughout the development period. But because we are who we are and we're a crowdfunded game and we're, you know, have kind of had our doors open for a long time, it's fun to show, you know, what we're working on. And as we do in every couple of week cadence, you know, we're going to be showing a lot of Greybox environments. But the point here is to say that Greyboxing is the beginning of an amazing end, where ultimately you see the power of where these things eventually go.
Just a reminder, like you said, Chris, Pantheon is a crowdfunded game. If you do want to learn more about it, you can visit us at pantheonmmo.com. And as a crowdfunded, it's made possible by your pledges. So have a look at the pledge page and see if there's anything there that interests you.
And also, real quick, to address something I've been seeing in chat, this is not a sponsored stream. They are not paying me to show you this. I'm actually doing this as a fan, and just like many of you, I have gone to that website and pledged to try to get this going as well. So yeah, I'm exactly like all of you guys with this.
So are we in position now to kind of, I don't want to do it yet, but do we have everything ready to move to the next?
I think for time's sake, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
we're good. We've got about 15 minutes. So.
Okay, cool. So very quickly, as I said before, this is a raid area, and the time is coming in the future, near future, that we want to, you know, actually show off a little bit more of this area for our pre-alpha testers. And this is everything we've shown today is going to be part of what the next testing phase is going to involve. And there's a lot more than this. But so while we want to keep from spilling all the secret sauce and spilling the beans too dramatically, we don't want to show off a whole lot of this raid and the mechanics and everything that are going on in here. We did want to show off a few aspects of it, and the main one we wanted to show is how we talked about the wind shear glyph earlier, how climate plays a role in the content of Pantheon, and we're going to go into an example of that now. So let's go ahead and fire that off. So without really explaining exactly everything that just happened there, this is Sleepless himself.
Oh! Hi! He
Oh.
summons!
To us.
And you
Okay.
get the
Oh,
That
Jesus,
explains who
dude, look at this
Sleepless
guy.
is.
Oh, and he just knocked me off. Okay. And I'm back at the beginning.
Got knocked off
Oh,
of
that
the
was
ground.
great.
Love it.
Nice.
That was pretty great. I am running back up.
You've got this, buddy.
Oh, God. Wait, why is it so windy and... Oh, Jesus.
You
Wait,
remember?
is this the winds? Oh,
Remember,
God.
like,
All right, hold on. It has become
April
significantly more difficult to
2018,
navigate
I
this.
think it was when they
Okay. Go. Oh, nope. Go back. We're
at
good.
the very
We're
end
fine.
of a
Things are fine.
co-stream, they showed a
Things are
piece of
fine,
concept art
and I
and
think
just
we got
like
it.
left it at that.
Awesome. Ooh.
That I
Nice.
think is it in game.
Now you'll notice as soon as you get into the play area, you're going to be dealing with some incredibly powerful
Whoa,
wind.
I'm getting blown away. I'm back off.
Yep. Now, granted, this is this is pre-polish phase, so you're not going to see kind of the being buffeted by the wind animation where you're kind of dragging across the ground or being lifted and hurled. But the mechanic is there. And the idea is when we talk about extreme climate, when we talk about wind shear, we're talking about a kind of wind force that is going to make you have a very bad day. It's one thing if you're you're standing on solid ground, and it's more like it's difficult to run and reach a certain point because of the wind blowing against you. It's another thing when you're up high like this and the wind is going to make it nearly impossible for you to adventure.
Oh, God.
Now,
yeah, it's like you're almost kind of like on ice and it's rocking back and forth. That is significantly more difficult.
There are actually
it's also
two wind
very hard to
seeds.
see.
One of them is a weaker, more constant wind force that changes direction and will make you run faster. If it's again at your back, it'll make you run slower if it's ahead of you, and it'll push you to the sides. And then there's the second wind seed, which is the full gale force wind.
Oh, that one right there.
In this environment is very high.
Let's get you acclimated before you get blown off.
That
again.
sounds great.
Yeah.
So do I right click on this in my inventory?
Yeah.
Just right click on the glyph and you will be good to go. Now that's if you right click and then you go to acclimation, you'll see that it's
Oh,
it's been
so I
applied.
think I just got blown again, but it wasn't nearly as bad.
Right.
Yeah, you'll see it's
Okay.
dampened dramatically.
Yeah.
So the wind is one aspect of this. You'll notice too there are bolts of lightning that are striking, hitting the ground. Those are live and active, meaning that they have real points of impact. They will do more damage.
Yeah,
at
that's
point
what
of impact and less
we've
damage
saw
splashing
before
outwards.
in that other co-stream too.
Those are again part of the environmental hazard, and there's several more things too that we're not going to mention.
Come on, Co, stand in it.
Thank you. Oh, Jesus.
Remember
Those
they
are
also
also
said
tuned
something
way
about
down
like
right
what
now,
if those
damage-wise,
if the
for
lightning
testing
bolts hit
purposes.
the
In the actual game, those would be pretty
pools of
devastating
sap
to
they
get
can
hit by. So you can see very quickly like how much organization it's going to take, even for just one part of this raid experience, for guilds and raid forces to have to work together to be on the same page and ultimately figure out what they are to do at this point in the fight.
yeah,
So,
make
with
those
that being
like
said, that's all we're going to
sculpture
show for now.
things.
Let's go ahead and whisk off to our next location.
Jeez, this is chaos.
So Co, you'll have to do this manually. Just type in /zone space FT.
Oh, come on.
What was that word?
FT.
FT.
Foxtrot Tango.
Perfect. And go. Right. Yeah, that lightning is pretty loud.
Okay, so this is the area that we started off in. I'm going to pull you now to an area that is very, very fresh in terms of greyboxing.
Okay.
So you sort of get a see behind the veil and see how this process starts off.
Ooh. Whoa. Oh, Jesus, look at this thing.
He's going for it.
Merc Beast.
Just turn your aggro. Just ask that you don't go too far. We want
Sure.
to save some for later, but.
So it's really important to think back to what we were just talking about in the Sleepless Island. Like, that was initiated, like that was a gray box that actually you Chris made, and we went from that initial base. But
It's okay to follow you guys up, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
come on,
great.
come on over here.
Just want to make sure.
Thank you. Yeah, you got to look at this with the correct goggles on, that this is something that's going to be something different. But we're thinking of game design blocking elements. Where do things go? What environmental portions are spawning, and what does that mean for the gameplay? What sort of assets are we going to need to create this whole area? Just trying to get gameplay online as fast as possible in a destructive way, I guess you could say. We're not going to throw away the placement for the objects. They will just be replaced with the final versions of those assets. So it's a little bit of an automated process in terms of that replacement. We just have to initially define what you're going to be doing.
Was that like a
how you're gonna be
monkey?
doing
What
it.
was that?
And it's kind of, I'm kind of glad you ended with this and didn't start with it, because after seeing the progress of the first zone we started in and seeing where it started just like this, and then to see what it is now, it makes it a lot easier to look at something like this and kind of envision the final product.
It's all about context. Yeah. And this is certainly something that you would never see for other games. course.
No
But
doubt.
this is the process that games go through, and
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
the smart thing to do, because it doesn't take beauty to determine whether an area is functional, fun, whether things are working properly. And so this allows for a much snappier, punchier development cycle when we're getting areas online, testing gameplay systems, layering in NPC populations, those types of things. And then the beauty, as we've seen, can and very much will come. But that's really all we have, and that's as far as we're going to go. Don't want to give anything away about this area. Just wanted it in your minds, and that's going to wrap us up for today.
Well, very cool. Very, very cool. Really appreciate you guys being here for this. I think I speak for thousands of us when I say how much we appreciate kind of the looks of this game, the looks of the development cycle. This game has been in development for a long time, and it has a fair amount of time to go. So showing us, these little steps and showing what you're doing and what's happening. I mean, just that first zone we saw today, there's a huge amount of progress in that zone. So, yeah, I know I speak for many when I say, man, I wish we could play this tomorrow. But at the same time, I think we also understand that we want to play it when it's done. So, yeah, this is cool. Thank you, guys. Also, by the way, Ben, just wanted to cue you off here. They can watch you guys do this on your own channel.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the Twitch channel that we run every 2 weeks on Thursdays, every second Thursday, is twitch.tv/Visionary Realms. We give our progress updates, our development updates, and you can just sort of keep up there as well.
So definitely be sure to toss them a follow. I just spammed their link in chat. So if you want to see more of these kind of updates, that sometimes they actually show you like the dev screen of the person working on the stuff that goes in the game. It's very cool, and definitely make sure to toss them a follow and check them out whenever they're there.
Indeed.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you, Ko, as always.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Ben, before we break, is there anything else you want to say?
Yeah. Again, just as a reminder, Pantheon is made possible by your pledges. You can come visit us at pantheonmmo.com for more information and for more screenshots and videos. Also, there are opportunities for investment if that's something that interests you as well. You can email us at contact@visionaryrealms.com. Ko, thanks again for having us. Everybody who's watching, thanks for tuning in. And until next time from us.
My pleasure. And I'm going to remember and have this highlighted from when we looked around this gray box zone, and I can't wait to do the same thing we did with this zone, like we did the first one today.
It's gonna be
fun.
Perfect.
It's gonna be fun. All right, guys. Well, thanks again, and we'll see y'all next time.
Onward and upward, everyone. Thanks.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I don't know about you, but I thought that was pretty great. I have to admit, when they first announced this stream, I was a tad bit skeptical, because I didn't know if I wanted, how much I want Faerthale to be, I guess spoiled, for lack of a better word, before, like I said, before that big, epic reveal where, here it is. Seeing the raid and actual live, gameplay, group gameplay, like you would at, if you were just playing it on a regular day. And so I because like I said, the anticipation has been building for such a long time that I didn't know, maybe it would just be more satisfying if it's just you just let the pressure build and then it just let it all go all at once. But I think that the way that they structured this stream, I think gave just the right amount of it was just the right amount of a teaser. They had the teaser trailer, and then this kind of expanded on that just a little bit, but it's still kind of just a teaser in its own way. And like I said, hopefully you have a better understanding for the just insane development process that they go through on a day-to-day basis to make this thing a reality. So I thought that was really well done. It seems like it was really well received. Like I think that really I think that was a really good thing for them to do. It was definitely it was even more than it was more than I was expecting, and even the level of detail. I gotta close down his stream because it's distracting me. The level of detail in a pre-alpha, like the veins in the leaves and stuff, it's like they're really going for it. Like, jeez, like when you can tell that even in alpha, they just when the floodgates are opened and a lot of people can actually get their hands on it, like they're really trying to leave an impression on people, and I respect that. It's a little unconventional, of a path, but you know, sometimes that works out for the better. The UI is nice and clean. They've got the Living Codex, those mechanics. I'm glad that it's in and it's working. I still need to sit down and really look into that more as to like how that works to really develop an opinion on it. I still think I would like for it to be a little bit more in depth than it is. It's not bad. I personally, as a fan of customization, I think would like it to be more in depth. But again, it's still too early to really know. Because like one thing that I'm glad that they kept reiterating in this stream is that it's like this is all just a taste. And even I would argue even when they do that, like, you know, Project Faerthale is done, you know, and pre-alpha 5 starts off and stuff, it's still they need to keep secrets for when the game actually launches, or else it's just not gonna be as exciting, because you already know everything there is to know, and there's not that like natural sense of discovery. If you were one of the people that, like me, that watches every single one of the streams, like there's something to be said for actually figuring it out when you have your own hands on the game and looking at it face to face like that and figuring it out on your own. That's very satisfying. It's much more satisfying than just like sitting and watching and just having them like, here is everything there is to know. So I think they're getting better at how they like communicate that sort of thing about these streams, because let's be honest, the crowd-funded MMO development process is something that's kind of foreign to a lot of people, and there's a lot of misconceptions about it, and it's not very clear as to, you know, what a normal crowd-funded MMO development looks like. And so I think though that this stream did a really good job at kind of explaining it a little bit more. So that's pretty much where I'm at it. My voice is starting to go, so I think I'm gonna bow out at this point. But there was definitely a lot of interesting beans in this one. Like I said, much more than I was expecting. But I'm not mad about it. I'm not bad about it. I'm gonna I'm probably gonna rewatch it and try to break it down a little bit more and really develop my thoughts on it. And then I'll pass it on to you on YouTube, which reminds me, again, for those of you that missed it at the beginning, I did just release a new video earlier today. You go check it out on my YouTube channel. It's up right now. And it talks about the recent developer roundtable where Joppa kind of very clearly laid out who the target audience for Pantheon is and what they're trying to do with the game, and how they're trying to kind of push the genre forward, which then kind of got me thinking, if they're trying to push the genre forward, these discussions about Pantheon being like an old school game, or like I've even seen people refer to it as like a retro game. And just have a discussion about that sort of terminology. But my voice is shot, so I'm going to call it a day right there. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I certainly did. And I hope you liked hanging out here. I know that Coh's chat channel is a little chaotic by his sheer size, and so hopefully this is a nice little chill spot to hang out. I know you guys have a choice. Thank you for hanging out with me. We'll see you next time.